Are you ready to be connected? You're listening to the Insured Connection podcast by Pica Group, a pro assurance company, where we provide expert advice for your practice when you need it most. We connect you with industry leaders to discuss timely topics so you can listen, learn, and get back to caring for your patients. Now, let's connect.
You want somebody who's going to pose questions to you when you deliver the concern you have. Okay, well, what do you think? Or what were you thinking about doing? Well, are you sure that would work? I mean, you want those kind of questions. You know, why would you do that as opposed to this? Or, don't you think maybe this is the person maybe who's not ready for surgery yet? I mean, that's what you want. Okay, you don't want somebody who's just going to agree with everything you say. Otherwise, you're just talking to yourself.
I'll give you a little anecdote real quick, without a lot of details behind it. When I called Alan myself about 20 years ago with a complication, and we talked about it, I was looking at him as a mentor, as he has been all these years. And I don't know if you remember this, Hubby, you said, well, you listened to me. We started to sort of work through the case and the complications. And you said, all right, well, let's see here. There's plenty of gravy to pour over this burnt chicken. And let's go ahead and let's go ahead and sort of think about it piece by piece, right? So that's what you want. You want someone who's going to help you analyze the case, as well as people need a shoulder to lean on as well in a mentor.
Yeah. I was sorry. I'm hung up on the plenty of gravy to pour. Dr. Banks, really?
That story's been embellished.
I've heard many in reverse where I was asleep in a theater and all sorts of stories.
I love it. That was good. That's great. That's a great segue. I've got that image in my head now. No, what I also wanted to show, I love the idea of, collaboration and mentorship. But one thing that I feel like a lot of people have lost sight of, and, Luke, you and I have talked about this, is that when you're practicing as a physician, when you're a physician, your life can get absorbed into just being a physician. And Dr. Banks, I've personally seen, you didn't starve yourself of being able to have your own relationships with your family, with your friendships. I mean, it was very alive and well. So can you talk a little bit about how did you keep that kind of at the forefront for you as well, so that you were very well-rounded in that sense, just as a person?
Well, my father died when I was 20. And before he died, he said that he appreciated the fact that he got to see his kids grow up. So I knew, life obviously can be taken away from us in a heartbeat. And so for me, I was going to see my kids grow up. And it was just, I was going to do what I had to. So, I did. I went to all the swim meets. I went to all the cheerleading. I went to the dive meets. I went to the soccer games. I went to everything. Okay. Piano recitals, you name it, because I was going to make sure that my kids could say at the end of the day that their dad was there to support them. And so I feel like I did it. My kids will tell you that I did it. My wife will tell you that I did too. So the other thing is, what I try and tell the residents, if they ever ask me kind of what my life recommendations are, one of them is obviously be a part of something that's bigger than you. And, be a part of something in your community. It can be a civic organization. It can be involvement with the Little League, with your kids. It can be involvement in a church group or anything. But it creates a great sense of community, well-being, collaboration, again, in a different sense, friendships, and so it's very rewarding. You certainly receive more than you give, and so I think again, just being focused on making sure I was there for my kids, and like I said, I may have been there with my laptop in between because if you ever had kids who are swimmers, you'll know you're there for the whole weekend to watch them swim a total of like maybe 15 minutes. Okay. 20. So there's a lot of downtime. So you can be sitting there, they're playing their video games or doing whatever. You're sitting there with your computer doing papers or chapters or whatever, but you're there. And not that you ignore them, but my point being is that, it takes some budget time too. I mean, you've got to be able to do that. So I hope I did it well enough.
Mm. So, I mean, in light of that, I mean, I have two children, Luke, I know you've got your kids, and it is hard to imagine that you can do anything outside of it sometimes because it requires so much of you. As you're approaching retirement here, what is this going to look like for you after retirement? Because you don't strike me as anyone who really stops doing anything. You just shift.
Yeah, and that's it. And part of the reason I'm retiring is so I can shift because I can't shift while I'm practicing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the shift. The number one shift I'm looking forward to is pushing the alarm clock later. Okay, I start at 5:30 every morning. I'm done with that. So the number one shift, the first shift that's going to occur in my life is the alarm clock has been pushed to the side. Okay, but beyond that, I have a number of things I really want to accomplish in life, and like I want to travel more. I love traveling, and so we're going to do that more. I've always wanted to play a musical instrument. Never had time. I'm going to do that. I speak Spanish. I want to learn French, and I still consult with PICA, and I will continue to do so as long as they'll have me. And then I want to.
I think is there a problem with the connection? I think we're got those get your connection, Gary.
Yeah.
What?
Yes, he did. I want to do some volunteer work. I have some charitable organizations that would like to have some help, and I've told them that I would love to be the lowliest of the lowly volunteer. As long as you'll let me stuff sandwiches in bags, sweep the floors, as long as I have no responsibility, I am happy to be there and do my part to try and help some other folks.
I love that. So as you say that, I had a colleague of mine actually tell me, he said, I haven't retired yet, but it's right around the corner. And he said, why is everyone always trying to give advice to the young physicians? Why not something for us? So this is for him. What pearls or what advice would you give for some of our practitioners that are getting closer to retirement? What would you tell them?
Got to have something to do. I mean, if you don't, then retiring is probably a mistake because so much of our world is work. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we all know people who retired and they were miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I just actually saw a TED talk on this. Okay. And it was, I think a guy who's a retired psychologist himself talking about 4 stages of retirement. And the first stage is the first year. And, you go, I'm free. Okay. I can do anything I want to do. I'm free, right. And then after about a year, you realize you're free, but, you miss a routine. You miss relationships that perhaps you had at the office or in some other segment of your work life. Mm-hmm. And then that creates some sense of disquiet and discomfort. And then ultimately you realize that, hey, I kind of get up and do something and do something productive in my retirement years. And that instills that search for what is that going to be. And it's different for everyone. And I think there are studies that actually show people are happiest in retirement when they have, I think, 3 or 4 core pursuits, whether it's playing with the grandkids, working a part-time job, doing volunteer work, whatever it can be. There are all sorts of things that it can entail. It's not the same for everybody. And then once you identify what those are, then this gentleman said you move into the 4th stage of retirement, which is where you enjoy every day. And So, excuse me, my battery's low. I guess my turn on the power cord here. Hang on just a second.
No problem.
Got to plug in.
So, Adrian, while he's doing that, please share with that gentleman and everybody in the audience the word ikigai, which is the Japanese word for the concept of wellness, Ikigai, because it's really the confluence of everything that you like to do, you're good at, the world needs, where passion, mission, vocation, professional skills all overlap and intersect. It's essentially a Venn diagram. But that's the key. That's the key concept to it all. The concept of ikigai really covers that. So it's something someone could look further into if they're interested in. You need to have these parallel passions, which is what Alan's talking about. They're parallel passions which have been on the back burner while you have all the obligations and responsibilities. Go back to what Alan said about volunteerism. I mean, essentially, the people who are happiest in retirement, in my observation, has been those who have eliminated the duty of responsibility to X number of other entities or people and are doing the things that they love to do, which they always did. But now they can say, well, I'm arriving at this time and I'm leaving at this time. Right? Exactly.
And I'm not going to the meetings.
Exactly. I remember, I know this is not my interview, but I remember when Dr. Hale in Greenville, North Carolina retired. I used to operate the same day as him in the surgery center. He was very involved in the hospital, all the committees and everything. And everyone was asking him when he came up on retirement, he said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, he said, how much time do you have? I have a list of about 100 things. And please tell the hospital I vote no.
Well, no, when I had resigned as residency director, probably 2-3 years later, I was at a wedding and I saw a couple of former residents there and they came over and they said, we were both just kind of standing over there and wondering, how like this being residency director? And I said, well, if we take a scale from 0 to 10, meaning 0, I could care less, or 10, I'm going to die if I'm not the director again tomorrow, I'm probably a -3.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
And then he said, if it hadn't been for you 3 residents, I probably would have been around a 5 to a 6.
That was the comment I was looking for, Dr. Banks. That was great. That just made it. So we've covered a lot, and I really wanted our audience to be able to truly meet you, Dr. Alan Banks, and really understand that you're a whole person, that you have these parallel passions, like Luke says. So I am going to ask real quick about one of them. How did you learn Spanish?
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, when I was the chief editor for the 3rd edition of McLamory's textbook, there was this 3-year hole in my life, where I went to work, I went to kids' activities, and I did the book. And there was nothing more. And so when I was finishing up, I knew that I would have a little free time again. And so I was thinking of things that I might want to do. And so I came upon studying Spanish. So I actually called and talked to Luke. And I said, okay, how shall I do this? And we talked. And so I got a tutor. And she's a very nice Cuban lady who was a retired school teacher in our system here. So she was used to teaching. And she was actually a patient. And she was in one day and I said, hey, by the way, do you tutor any people? And she said, yes, I have lots of students that I tutor. I said, well, how about this student, And so she lived 5 minutes from my office. So my lesson was 5 o'clock every Tuesday. I made my last patient at 3:30, so I would have time to finish up everything and make sure that I got there on time. And that's how I started learning Spanish. And I still, even though when the pandemic hit, she moved to Florida with her family, but we still chat every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night.
You know,
That's great.
Luke, I can see the smile on your face.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Alan's done incredibly well and become very, very proficient in Spanish, which is really cool, all to his credit, right? And merit. And then we've done a lot of stuff together based on that shared interest. So it's phenomenal. It's wonderful. Really cool.
yeah, it's one of the other things I would just say to people, is just learn another language. It opens up. I started just because it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to just see what the road sign said and in the Hispanic neighborhood. Okay, what's on the restaurant? Is that a restaurant or is that something else over there? Like, and it just started out of curiosity and a desire to learn, and so it just morphed into so much more. I mean, we have friends in Spain. I mean, it's so nice. I mean, we still communicate with them and stay in touch, and so it opened a lot of doors to friendships and relationships and teaching in a different way. I mean, we still have groups of Spanish podiatrists who come work at our courses here, and that's just so much fun for me because these guys are so excited to learn. And when the easiest thing for someone who wants to teach is to work with people like that.
Absolutely. Wow. I am definitely a fan. When I hear you saying this, the first thing, I guess one of the biggest lessons that I take from this entire interview as we wrap it up here is stay curious, and stay humble. And I think that you've done both of those things and you've done it masterfully, so I commend you. As I know you're coming to a shift in your life. We wanted to thank you, on behalf of all of us, for everything that you've given into the profession, whether it's through just all the publications, the teaching, the perpetual educating, mentoring, collaboration. We're honored to be able to say that you were one of our pioneers. So grateful for it.
I think you're grossly overstating things, but I very much appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it, and it's anything. If I've been able to do anything for my colleagues and for the profession, then it's only a fraction of what I received.
Thank you, Dr. Banks. Luke, I'll let you close if there's anything that you wanted to say.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you, Alan, for your time. Thank you for all your education and sharing and so forth. I think, Adrian, you've done a very nice job in interviewing Alan, and it's wonderful to be able to celebrate him as he pivots into continued pursuit. So heartfelt thanks from myself and all of us who have learned from you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Muchísimas gracias.
A todos. Gracias, Alan. Y Adriana. Gracias.
De nada, de nada.
Much.
All right. So for all our listeners, thank you again so much for joining us. If you are interested in more than just medicine, more than just podiatric medicine, please continue to follow us because we try to hit more than just our medical cells. We try to encompass all of you. And we try to get guests that speak that in those themes as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
And that's it for this week's episode. But let's continue connecting. If you're enjoying the Insured Connection, don't forget to leave a review on your streaming platform and subscribe now so you can connect with us each time we post a new episode. To stay